You're staring out of a window, not looking at anything, not thinking about anything in particular, just gone. Where did you go? When you zone out staring at a wall, your brain isn't switched off. It's switched on to something else entirely, something ancient, something extraordinary.
And neuroscience has a name for it.
It's called the default mode network, and understanding it might be the most important thing you learn about your own mind today.
Before you knew what it was, you probably called it daydreaming, zoning out, spacing off. You were told to stop doing it in class, at work, at dinner.
As if your mind wandering was a flaw, a glitch, something to fix.
But science says the opposite. Your wandering mind is one of the most sophisticated operations in the known universe.
Here's the simplest way to understand it. Think about your laptop. When you are actively using it, typing, browsing, watching, it runs the programs you opened. But the moment you walk away, it doesn't just go blank. It starts running background updates, syncing files, organizing data, processing everything it collected while you were busy. Your brain does exactly the same thing. The default mode network, or DMN, is a set of interconnected brain regions that activate specifically when you stop focusing on the outside world. It was discovered by neuroscientist Marcus Raichle at Washington University in the early 2000s, when brain imaging technology became precise enough to catch what the brain was doing between tasks.
Raichle noticed something nobody expected. When subjects were told to rest and do nothing, certain brain regions didn't quiet down. They lit up louder than before.
The brain wasn't resting. It was switching modes.
And what it was doing in that mode changed everything researchers thought they knew about productivity, creativity, and mental health.
The default mode network has 3 core jobs, and each one is something you do every single day without realizing it is powered by deliberate rest.
The first is creative insight.
You've had a shower idea. Everyone has. You're not solving anything. You're just standing there. Hot water, soap, maybe badly singing a song from 2009. And then, out of nowhere, the solution to a problem you've been stuck on for 3 days just arrives.
That was not luck. That was your default mode network doing its job.
When your focused, task-driven mind relaxes its grip, the DMN begins drawing unexpected connections between stored memories, past experiences, and half-formed ideas. A 2019 study published in the journal Neuroimage by Beatty and colleagues found that people with higher creative output showed significantly stronger connections within the DMN compared to less creative individuals. The DMN is your brain's creative engine, and it only runs when you step back. The second function is empathy and social processing. Think about the last time you read someone's face perfectly. You knew they were upset before they said a word. You sensed the tension in a room the moment you walked in. That level of social awareness is processed by the default mode network. During quiet, inward-facing moments, your brain replays social interactions. It reviews other people's behavior, models their emotions, and updates your mental maps of the people around you. You are not spacing out. You are filing social data. The third function is autobiographical memory and future planning. Your DMN is the part of your brain that holds the story of who you are. It stitches together your past into a narrative, and then it uses that narrative to simulate your future. When you sit quietly and think about next year, what you want, what you fear, where you're headed, that's the default mode network constructing a model of your life. Without it, you lose the thread of yourself. A quiet moment staring at the ceiling is not wasted time. It is the moment your brain figures out who you are and where you're going.
Now here's where it gets important and a little uncomfortable.
Modern life is built to prevent your default mode network from ever activating. Think about what happens the moment you feel bored. The phone comes out, the earbuds go in, the scroll begins. Every moment of potential quiet is immediately filled with input. And on the surface, that feels productive, stimulating, efficient. Underneath, something is being starved. Research published in the journal Psychological Science found that chronic suppression of the default mode network achieved through constant external stimulation is strongly associated with higher rates of anxiety and depression. When the brain never gets the chance to process inward, it starts to fracture. Unresolved emotions pile up unreviewed. Creative connections stop forming. The sense of autobiographical self, who you are, what you value, where you're headed, begins to blur. You feel overwhelmed but can't say why. You feel stuck but can't identify what changed. You feel like the version of yourself you used to know has gone slightly out of focus.
That's not a personality problem. That's a biology problem. Your brain has been denied the one process it needs to stay coherent.
Matthew Crawford, philosopher and neuroscientist, wrote about this in his work on attention. He argued that chronic distraction is not just annoying, it's structurally damaging to the architecture of thought. The mind needs space to consolidate what it experiences. Without that space, experience accumulates but never integrates. You live more and understand less. The solution is simpler than you expect, and that simplicity is exactly why it gets dismissed. 10 minutes, input-free, every day. No podcast, no music, no phone, no background noise. Just you and your own thoughts allowed to go wherever they want to go. This is not meditation. You're not trying to clear your mind. You're not focusing on your breath. You're doing the opposite of focusing. You are letting your mind wander on purpose. Researchers call this deliberate mind wandering, and the evidence behind it is compelling. A study by Seeley and Schuler, published in Psychological Science, found that deliberate mind-wandering, intentional, undirected thought produced significantly higher scores on creative problem-solving tasks compared to focused thinking. The subjects who sat quietly and let their minds drift outperformed the subjects who tried to think their way to a solution. Your unfocused mind is smarter than your focused mind at certain tasks. The brain just needs the right conditions to prove it. So tomorrow morning, before the phone, before the news, before the noise, sit somewhere quiet for 10 minutes and do nothing. Look at the wall, look out the window, let your mind go where it wants. It will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is withdrawal. Your brain has been trained to expect a constant stream of input, and the absence of it will feel like something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Everything is finally right. Because somewhere in those 10 minutes, your default mode network will fire up. It will start drawing connections you couldn't see when you were focused. It will process emotions you didn't have time to feel. It will remind you who you are and sketch out where you might go. The most productive thing you can do is sometimes nothing at all. You knew that once, before you had a screen to fill every silence. You were staring out of a window, not looking at anything. Not thinking about anything in particular, just gone.
And your brain, the most complex object in the known universe, was quietly doing everything.